That was the test.
In a perfect world without grades, students might just learn for the sake of learning, right? Sometimes this is true and highly productive in the process, but it is a little optimistic to rely on. We both found Wolf's writing about grades interesting and decided to dive further into this topic. He states that the fetishism of commodities gives way to a fetishism of marks. He then compares the achievement oriented student to a pathological consumer. We found this mention of grade fetishism interesting and began to do some research. By grade fetishism, I mean the persistent and nearly obsessive concern among students about getting the highest possible marks in their courses and assignments, because it either feels good or it seems like the right thing to do. In short, this is what we mean. I'm now going to take the positive stance for why grades might be good and list some pros. So, there is external motivation to inspire and force kids to learn. There's also a sort of global currency that proves students' abilities. For the most part, grades tend to at least come close to matching up with the true labor put in and knowledge gained in a class. Grades are not everything. No one is actually defined by the grades they get. It can help give employers or admission offices a necessary idea of people, but no one actually ranks people by grades. Grades on the internet have changed how both consumers and sellers solve the problem of asymmetric information. Too often, information is lied about or exaggerated. Grades are needed for allocation of resources. Not everyone can just choose to go to med school and become a doctor, for example. We need grades to make sure people are qualified for certain jobs. In our current system, a lot of people disagree with grades for many reasons, which we will get into in a second. It is deemed that grading is unhealthy and not the best way to approach learning. A solution might be to grade students by their effort or improvement. The problem with this is that there would be no way to do this without being biased, and it just wouldn't be accurate. Despite downsides of grading in our current system, this fetishism gives most students so much motivation that it outweighs all. It also gives students who might already have this motivation to work even harder. Grades seem like they're there in order to raise the average effort bar for everyone. Though not everyone, nor every situation, benefits from it, it seems like the best current way to keep people engaged with the least amount of downsides.
There are many unhealthy and distressing downsides to the commonly used letter grading system. These include that it is a motivation that distracts kids from the actual purpose of learning,
The proper occasion for outrage is not that too many students are getting A's, but that too many students have been led to believe that getting A's is the point of going to school.
that an entire student semester is summarized down to one letter grade, a weak attempt to describe the student's progress or knowledge. Students' grades and test scores are commonly used as an evaluation of the teachers or professors. Students try to avoid challenging tasks. Students tend to think less deeply. Students may fall apart when they fail. Students value ability more than effort. And just as we don't find it appropriate to rank adults, why would we find it appropriate to rank students?
I'm often left with a disturbing kind of awe. How can one little letter sum up an entire semester or year of classwork? That little letter can't possibly even begin to convey all the labor that went into making it what it is. And yet, it is meant to signify all that and more. It is meant to prove that the student has learned something.
When someone looks at the most common current academic grading system, letter grades, they might be led to believe that it is the most efficient manner in ranking students. They might, as does the University of Washington, state that the grading system allows for grades to be directly correlated to students' achievement of defined learning objectives, and it is easy to calculate grades, easy for students to understand, consistency gives the illusion of fairness, and it reduces competition between students. These conveniences are excuses that allow professors or teachers to easily give students insufficient feedback, allocate resources via ranking, and rate students' abilities, not effort. These arguments severely affect students' well being, learning, and academic motivation. The issues of letter grades lie within the fact that it can be characterized by students receiving grades based on their performance, which can be affected by their effort but is most commonly based on innate ability. This is a faulty system that benefits students who are naturally more talented with certain subjects and hinder others who may struggle. Therefore, the stress that already exists within a high school is amplified by students receiving grades on just what they turn in, not the effort they put into it. A recent study from the Society for Research in Child Development tested and proved that a student's cortisol levels spike when they experience an academic setback. Yet, how the student responds to this setback varies depending on their mindset. Students with an entity theory of intelligence face more setbacks and consistently higher cortisol levels due to believing that levels of intelligence are a fixed trait, whereas students who believe that intelligence could be developed had their cortisol return to normal at faster rates and experience less trauma. Each student learns most effectively in a different manner and responds to criticisms differently. The academic system must be able to adapt to students' differing needs better. This system is strikingly similar to the system used to grade in the innate qualities of produce. Students' grades are frequently monetized and turned into a sort of global currency, which is beneficial in multiple ways, including allocation of resources, but also promotes teachers and faculty to cut corners in educating kids. Methods for cutting corners include cheating, preparing students for testing only, and refusal to collaborate with colleagues due to value added measures. A commentary from Jonathan Keeler describes how the system of letter grades and value added measures is destroying the quality of the academic system. By looking at this, you can see how teachers and administrators would be inspired to design a curriculum which teaches students to do well on tests instead of absorb and understand the knowledge in reference to the real world. The resources, mainly money, that a school receives relies on the students' grades and test scores, not their actual knowledge or effort. High cortisol levels in test taking are effective in motivating some students, usually those who enter into school with higher levels of knowledge, but not for all. The school system needs to be able to adapt to a student who experiences drawbacks from poor letter grades, which are not necessarily due to their intelligence levels. A more progressive, less competitive, but still not perfect method for grading students is through student growth measures. This concept takes students' growth throughout their academic career and judges the progress they have made individually. The effectiveness of the student growth measure system is due to it grading the students' efforts and subjects during the period that they are learning them, adjusted for prior knowledge through the beginning test. The student's first evaluation is then compared to what they produce at the end of the period, and a grade is given off of improvement or not instead of general knowledge. This allows for comparison between students to judge who needs more assistance and where each student might be falling behind. This then opens the door to allocation of resources for students who need more resources to catch up and students who excel through effort to be noted and rewarded.